everyone, and thank you for coming to today's Play Attention webinar. My name is Gwen Sorley, and I will be your host today. I'm glad to see everyone here. We have a large audience from around the world, and I really appreciate all of you taking out some time today to discuss exercise and ADHD. Now, hopefully you can see my screen fine. For some reason, I'm not seeing my own video, so hopefully you are seeing me. I'm not certain if you are. If you can type in that chat box whether or not you can see me, that would be really helpful. But regardless of that, we are going to be talking about, okay, excellent, thank you. Some of you are saying, yes, you can see me. I just can't see myself, so that is fine. And so we are going to be talking about the effects of exercise on the brain. And just a couple of things that I wanted to mention. We are recording this event, and you will receive an email at the end of the webinar, which will actually provide you with the replay link. So if you want to watch any of the portions of this webinar again, or you want to share it with family members or staff members, you will be able to do that. Also, as many of you know already, because you all gave me feedback about my video, we will have a chat going. So if you have any questions or any comments you want to share, you'll be able to use that chat box throughout. Now, when we talk about exercise, and whenever you hear someone talking about their exercise regimen, or I'm going to start exercising because, the reasons are typically related to the body, right? I'm going to start exercising because I want to lose weight. I'm going to start exercising because I want to gain some more muscle, or I want to fit into my skinny jeans, right? So you always hear something related to the body. However, I consider those all side effects. Really, the main benefit to exercise is the fact that when you exercise, you are allowing your brain to work at its maximum capacity. And that's what we're going to focus on today. We're going to talk about the effects of exercise on the brain. We're going to talk about how much exercise we should all be getting, whether we're children or adults, what types of exercise are the best, how you can get started, or maybe you have been working out regularly, how you can even improve your current exercise routine. And then, of course, we'll just touch lightly on play attention and how play attention is exercise for your mind. So let's talk about ADHD and exercise. If you have ADHD, it will not only make you feel good, but it can actually help you control the symptoms of ADHD. When you exercise, your brain actually releases chemicals known as neurotransmitters. And one of those chemicals is dopamine. And you've probably heard of dopamine as the feel-good chemical, right? It does make you feel good. You hear about that runner's high. So as that is released, you will feel better, but we also know that that dopamine release helps with your attention, and it gives you better mental clarity. So right there, that is good for all of us, whether we have ADHD or not, but just the fact that that chemical is naturally released when you exercise and can help you improve your attention and mental clarity is important to keep in mind. So many of the studies have shown that the benefits of fitness in children and adults with ADHD includes improved focus. It eases stress and anxiety. Now that really goes hand in hand, doesn't it? Because if you are stressed and anxious, which, this has been a few stressful months here that we've all been experiencing, and you may notice that stress and anxiety is not conducive to good attention. So if you can exercise and bring down that level of stress and anxiety, of course, you're going to be able to better focus as well. It also improves impulse control. And this was really interesting to me. I just came across this study a few months ago. It was done just in 2020, where they found that impulse control was actually improved in children. And I'm going to cite that study a little bit further on in this webinar. It also enhances working memory. So that's why you hear a lot of times that it is so important for you to continue exercising all the way through your lifetime, right? Because as you age and you start having perhaps some cognitive decline or the early stages of dementia, that exercise actually can cause new neural pathways to become formed. It sparks those neural networks to become formed. And so it can truly enhance your working memory as well. And it improves executive function, improves productivity overall. Because once, of course, we're more productive and we're more focused and less stressed, and we can control our impulses, we, of course, are going to be more productive. Now, one of the studies, and we're going to just look at 3 studies. Of course, there are a lot of studies you can review, but one of the studies done by UCLA showed that exercise increased the growth factors in the brain. So it actually made it easier for the brain to create these new neural pathways. And you think about the learning process, and that when we're learning, you're actually sparking new neural pathways to become formed, right? So if exercise can provide that nourishing environment for the growth of brain cells, imagine the impact that has on learning. If you are really priming that brain for learning by exercising, then you're going to be able to learn new material, not only learn new material, but those neural pathways and those connections you're able to create will allow you to retain that information for recall later. So really important. And so not only has exercise been shown to, really expand or enlarge the brain, you can think of the opposite as being true as well. A sedentary lifestyle actually decreases the size of the brain. And they've seen this in koala bears. When you look at the koala bear and its brain, it used to have a larger brain because its diet was very varied in nature, right? So they used to eat a lot of different things. So they had to move in order to really gather those different food items. But as it has evolved, it really now only eats the eucalyptus leaves. And so it doesn't have to move that much. It can be in that one tree in that one spot for a while and not have to move very much. So the brain of the koala bear has actually become smaller because it doesn't have as much movement. And, if you think about ourselves in an evolutionary manner, we were not created to live a sedentary lifestyle, right? We were meant to move. We were hunters and gatherers. So our ancestors had to walk maybe 5 to 10 miles just to gather food or hunt for food. And now we really don't do that. We haven't changed. Our DNA hasn't really changed, but our life is much more sedentary in nature. So we have to make a plan of action so that we make certain we are getting the movement we need in order to have a healthy brain. Now, if you are a female out there and you're thinking, well, the females, they were really more of the gatherers. They didn't maybe move that much. They stayed in the cave and did the cooking. We know that that's not true. So don't use that as an excuse. I don't know if you saw one of the latest articles, I think it was in the Washington Post, but a group of archaeologists in Peru found a skeleton that is 9,000 years old, and it's a skeleton of a young woman. And it used to be thought that the women were only gatherers, but they found this skeleton and it was buried with a big game hunting kit. So it really shows that the women were also out there hunting, moving. So it is very important that we all make that plan, male, female, children, adults, seniors, that we keep moving in order to expand our brain growth. Now, there was also a study done in 2009 of pre-adolescent children, And they were asked to get on the treadmill for 20 minutes. After that 20 minutes, they were given a cognitive exam. The study found that after that 20 minutes, the students were tested with those cognitive exams and they did better on the exam and they were more attentive for up to 60 minutes after that 20 minutes on the treadmill. Now, 20 minutes on the treadmill, getting their heart rate up, doing a little bit of aerobic type of exercise. Then for 60 minutes after that time, they were more attentive and performed better cognitively. So I think that this is very interesting and it's very important to keep in mind, especially now for many of you who are still doing school. You might be doing school homeschooling, or you may be doing e-learning. So they're on the computer a lot during the day. They might be doing a hybrid, but right now you have the opportunity, many of you, to vary your school schedule. So imagine if you could incorporate that physical activity throughout the school day and throughout your work day, so that if you do a 20-minute bout of exercise, you could be clearer and more attentive and perform better for at least 60 minutes after that point. So I think that's important to keep in mind when you're looking at your schedule and maybe thinking at this time to vary it a bit and what makes the most sense for maximum learning and maximum productivity. Well, what makes the most sense is that you incorporate exercise throughout the day. So, keeping that 2009 study in mind, they wanted to know, will there be an even greater impact if we look at the effects of exercise on children who actually have ADHD? So, this is the study I mentioned earlier, the one that was just done in 2020. They had children from the ages of 11 to 16 do 20 minutes of biking. And after those students were cycling for 20 minutes, they showed improvements on staying on task and being more attentive, again, up to 60 minutes after that time. Also, what they found, if you look at the quote at the bottom of this page, they were better able to regulate their behaviors and were better able to institute corrective actions. So that's that self-regulation we talk about, the impulse control, which of course is a big part of executive function. Maybe some of you have noticed that as your child is sitting in front of the screen and doing their e-schooling, that they sometimes get a little bit more inattentive, or perhaps they're a little bit more impulsive after extended periods of time of just that screen time. And so now we know that exercise, again, just 20 minutes, not only improves their performance academically, improves their attention, their ability to stay on task, but it also allows them to better control their impulsive actions and put in place self-corrective actions or measures so they are better able to self-regulate. So we know why we should be exercising, right? It's not only that we are going to lose weight or we're going to be able to fit into our clothes better, but we're actually going to improve our brain health. Our brain will be better ready to learn, will be more focused, our working memory will improve, our impulse control can improve, and our overall executive function can actually strengthen and improve. So how much exercise should you be getting? If we look at what the CDC recommends, children ages 6 through 17 should be getting at least 60 minutes, so 1 hour a day of moderate to vigorous physical activity. So that's 1 hour a day for your children. As for adults, adults should be getting 150 minutes of exercise each week. Now, before you say, oh my goodness, there's no way I have 150 minutes to do this. If you break it down, 150 minutes is just 30 minutes, 5 days a week, just 30 minutes. And remember, you don't have to do all 30 minutes at one time. If you can, great. If you want to start and break it up and do 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes in the evening, that's okay. But your goal should be at least 30 minutes a day for 5 days a week. And of course, your children need a little bit more. So strive towards 60 minutes per day of moderate to vigorous physical activity. So, what types of activity should we be doing? What types of physical activity should we be doing when we're making our plan? And we are going to make a plan because in order to really start an exercise routine, you know that a plan is important. So now we know how much time we should be exercising. So the question is, what types of exercise are best? So we do want to mix it up, right? Because variety is the spice of life. And if you do the same exercise every day, you're going to burn yourself out. And there's so many different types of exercises, and you're going to get benefits from all these different types of exercises. But the one they highly recommend for focus and attention, mental clarity, is aerobic exercise. Get your heart rate going. Aerobic exercise has been shown to be the exercise that creates those new neural pathways we were talking about, right? It really prepares the brain. It allows the brain to grow and take in new information. It also, of course, floods you with that chemical dopamine, the feel-good chemical, and helps you pay attention. So types of exercise you can think of here, you could do running, hiking, biking, swimming laps. Think about the different types of aerobic exercise and make a list of them. So don't just say, I'm going to run every day. Mix it up. Maybe you run one day and then maybe one day you do an aerobics class. So you can mix that up a little bit. Also, they recommend that you incorporate complex exercises. Experts say that the more complex the exercise is, the better for your brain. So when you're thinking about different types of complex exercises, this is where you're getting the mind and the body connection, okay? This also will improve focus and self-control. These can include karate, taekwondo, gymnastics, dance. Think about other types of complex exercises. It could even be rock climbing, right? You have to be very focused and you have to have lots of self-control and problem solving. So rock climbing could be one if you're really adventurous, or yoga could be one that you easily incorporate into your morning routine. So make certain you consider some of those martial arts or those more complex types of activities. And team sports. Team sports is important because it really brings in a variety of skill sets that you need. So when you think about team sports, of course you need to be focused when you're playing a game, right? When you're actively involved in a team sport. You also have to remember the rules of the game. You have to be able to control your impulsive responses, right? So if you're playing baseball, you have to control your impulse to try to steal second base when it's not necessarily the right time. So there are a lot of areas of executive function that you're going to improve when you're playing a team sport. And I think one of the most important, of course, is social skills. When you are part of a team, when you're a team member, it really encourages and teaches positive social interactions. So really important. I know a lot of our children today, a lot of their social interaction is online. It might be during one of their interactive video games, but think about that social interaction out on the field. And I know we have to adjust right now, and there are not a lot of team sports that are actively running, but this is something for you to keep in mind and plan for the future. So once you can join one of those teams, remember how important they are and the skills that you're actually teaching when you're involved in that. So of course, team sports, I don't have to tell you, there are so many of them available: soccer, volleyball, lacrosse, softball, or baseball. So start thinking about for the future, or maybe you still are able to join some teams in your area now, some of those team sports to really encourage brain growth, but also these essential skills. So, as I mentioned earlier, we need to make a plan of action because now we have more of that sedentary lifestyle. When our ancestors were going out and walking 5 to 10 miles a day, it was out of necessity, right? It was for them to survive. We don't necessarily have to do that today. So, in order to make certain that we're getting that 150 minutes a week, or that our children are getting at least an hour, and remember, I know that for some of you right now, it may seem like a lot. I have to figure out another hour in my day where we can actually have some physical activity. But if you incorporate that hour into your day, and it improves your child's focus, it improves their time on task, it improves their impulse control, you might actually spend less time on redirecting and keeping them on task, reminding them of what they need to do, correcting them when they have impulsive actions. You might be spending less time in those areas, more time on exercise and less time on redirection or discipline. So this can really save you some time throughout your day. So let's think about how we can make that plan of action. We know how much time, and we also have talked about some different ideas. So I'm going to send out actually a planner that I've put together where you can start planning, and you can see it on your screen. I'm just running a little bit of an example where you can brainstorm all of the different types of exercises you can incorporate into your day. Remember, we want to have variety. Also, I suggest that you do a wild card option where you write down random activities that you might not have necessarily done in the past. Or if you're creating this plan with family members or friends, have them write down wild card ideas where you're putting in exercise ideas that you typically have never tried before or you don't typically do. And then you can have where you're drawing out the different activities and you kind of get a surprise activity. And that will really keep it different and new and fun too. Because if you're doing this as a family, you know, a lot of times what we'll do as a family is we'll put in our wild card ideas, and then you'll really notice that your children come up with some really creative ideas on how the family can get their heart pumping and get that aerobic exercise in a fun way together. So you can make this plan together as a family, or you might want to do it with friends, or you can do it as an individual. But I really encourage you to make a plan, because as in everything in life, if we don't have a plan, then it makes it really difficult for us to follow through. So I'm going to include this planner in the email follow-up. So you'll have the email follow-up that will have this video recording, and then it will also have the planner that you can download. And I do hope that you take advantage of it. And when you see here, it's in an ebook style, but on the very last or second to the last page, you'll click here to download our planner, and it downloads an Excel file to your computer. And that's where you can put in your plan for the week. What exercise are you going to do on which day? How long are you going to do it? So that's your goal setting. And then you can check off whether you actually accomplished that goal. Did you do any bonus activities? And this will help you start to get into that routine. And I promise you, if you start getting into this routine and do it really consistently for about a month, you're going to notice that you do feel better and you actually start craving that exercise. You look forward to it. I know that it might sound crazy now if you haven't been regularly exercising, but your body, you start craving that exercise. So just give it a try. Make certain you write down all of your different ideas. Let the family be really creative to come up with those wild card ideas, and then set up your schedule. Track what you're doing. And think about the time of day as well, because if you say, okay, on Monday, we're going to take a brisk walk around the neighborhood, that's a really good plan. But if you don't put in a specific time, chances are you're not going to get to it. Because if you start your day and you say, okay, at some point we're going to do this, your day gets away from you. So make certain you set a specific time. And better yet, if you can do it first thing in the morning, if you can do some physical exercise before your day starts, do it in the morning, because then it's behind you. Whatever you get an opportunity to do after that fact is a bonus, right? I have to do that myself. I have to get up and right away I do a little bit of yoga, and then I'll do cardio or strength training, and I have to do it. And I have tried different times during the day, but I find I have to have all of that out of the way by 7:30 in the morning, because as soon as 7:30 starts, then all the phone calls starts and the texts and the emails. So I give myself that time in the morning to make certain that I get it. And it does improve the quality of my attention and my productivity throughout the day. So again, I'll make certain that you get this at the end of the webinar. Also, we were going to talk about play attention, which is exercise for your brain. And we also have exercise and nutrition guidance on our social media every week for all of our clients, because we know when you are using play attention to improve the areas of executive function, improve all of those cognitive skills that lay the foundation for strong executive function, it's important that you also have a healthy lifestyle. Because if you have a healthy lifestyle, then that's going to complement the work that you're doing in play attention. Because again, you're providing your brain with the environment it needs for that brain growth, to make those new neural connections. When you use play attention, of course, you can see here are a couple of our students. And if you notice on their arms, they have our body wave technology. Now, the body wave technology has 3 sensors, and those sensors monitor their brain activity that tells us how attentive they are. And then that information is given over to the computer, where they're allowed to control all of the cognitive skills just with their mind, or more specifically, their attentive state alone. So these are cognitive exercises for your mind. They are cognitive exercises that you activate by your attentive state. So you can only work on these cognitive exercises if you are actually actively engaged. If you're not paying attention, the activity will stop, or the character will go in the wrong direction, immediately alerting you that you need to correct your behavior, you need to stop daydreaming, you need to bring your mind back into the present moment in order to continue. And that's really important, because we know that the first catalyst necessary for brain change is attention. So before we even allow you to work on other cognitive skills like working memory or auditory processing or task completion, we mandate that you get in that peak attentive state in order to activate the activity and maintain that attentive state while you practice your cognitive exercise. So play attention is a very comprehensive approach to help you, again, improve those cognitive areas that are necessary for strong executive function and self-regulation. So it is a complete exercise system for the brain. If you have any questions, or if you would like to schedule a one-to-one consultation where we can talk about your particular needs, please type in consultation in the chat box, and one of our advisors will reach out to you so that we can schedule a time. And during the consults, we typically talk about whether you're looking at this for yourself or your child or your students, your clients. and we'll talk about their strengths, their weaknesses, and how we can customize a cognitive training plan for that individual. So if you would like to schedule one of those consultations, just type in consultation and we'll make certain to reach out to you via phone or email, whichever you prefer, to set up a time for that. Also, we do have a couple of upcoming events. I don't know if you've seen on our website, but we do have a new webinar series that starts next week. And this webinar series is an 8-part series. It is going to focus on executive function. And each week, we're going to focus on one area of executive function. Our first week starts next Thursday on November 12th at 1 o'clock Eastern Time, and we're going to focus on initiation. And this is to avoid procrastination. So we're going to talk about initiation as part of executive function and how we can really help and start incorporating some tips for both you or your child that will help you avoid procrastination and stay on task. If you would like us to go ahead and register you for that event, just type in webinar and we'll make certain that you get enrolled for that webinar next Thursday. That is our first in a series of 8 on executive function. And again, we'll be talking about how to avoid procrastination to get started. All right. If you have any questions, I see some of you are typing in consults and some of you are typing in the webinar. So we'll make certain that you do get registered for that webinar. Yes, we do also have a Play Attention webinar upcoming. I believe it is the following Thursday, and we'll specifically be talking about how Play Attention incorporates the latest research in neuroplasticity to improve executive function and self-regulation. So if you want to be registered for the following week, which will be November 19th at 1 o'clock, it's a specific Play Attention webinar. So you can type in Play Attention or PA, and we'll get you registered for that webinar as well, because that webinar is going to go through specifics about Play Attention and how Play Attention utilizes the latest research in neuroplasticity in order to improve executive function. And that's where we're really going to go further into the Play Attention hardware, the body wave system, and all of the cognitive training materials within your software. Okay. All right. Yes, you will have to sign up for each webinar individually if you want to do the full series of 8. So just make certain that you continue to go back to our Play Attention website, playattention.com. Click on webinars and then special webinar, and that will have an ongoing list of the upcoming topics. So again, right now, the only one we have posted is the one on initiation, how to avoid procrastination. And then we will have each week, we'll update that list so you'll be able to see the next webinar in the series. And as always, if you're not able to attend the live event, please do just know you will receive the webinar recording following it. All right, if there are no other questions or comments, yes, you will absolutely receive the recording after this, and it will include the planner that I showed you earlier. So it's an ebook that reviews a lot of the information we talked about now on the brain and exercise, and then you'll have that planner at the end. So you will all receive that probably within the next couple of hours. It takes a little while for this to process. Thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate you taking out some time today. I hope this really got you thinking about exercise in a new way, that you're not just exercising for your body, but you're exercising for maximum brain health for yourself, for your friends, for your family. So make certain that you take some time, maybe this weekend, think about some fun activities you can incorporate into your exercise routine, mix it up, and just make certain you reach your goal of 150 minutes a week, or your children at least 60 minutes a day. And you'll see improvements in attention, productivity, stress and anxiety levels will decrease. And remember, it'll make you feel good. Thank you so much, everyone. It's been a pleasure, and I will see you next week at our executive function webinar. Take care.